I think it was a general evolution. It wasn't as, I didn't actually know when I first came that people chose to become a member or a commitment to the Grail. I just assumed it was a group of women who were meeting regularly. And at some point I was then invited to join a new women's group where we were being introduced to various aspects of the Grail, and from that came the decision to make a commitment to be part of the Grail. The Grail is a place of welcome and hospitality. I think that's the magnet that draws people into the Grail, that it doesn't matter whether it's the cup of tea waiting for you or whether it's the gentle space that is held, so that you can be who you want, who you are. You can hold the questions that you have, that it's okay not to know, to be present to one another, to care for one another, to feel connected. I think there are two significant things. One is a place to be held, affirmed and loved, and the second is a place to grow and become more than who I was. To see the world through a different lens. Being an international organisation, we have people who are from Africa, Latin America, Asia Pacific, so that's not part of my normal world, and yet we're also very grounded in the local community, reaching out, whether it be around trafficking of women, or how we do or don't care for the world, how we do or don't fit into institutional church, and how different religions have much to offer us. So it was both the holding and the growing. When I first came to the Grail, I was in a place of transformation. I had been, at that point, a teacher in TAFE for 10 years, followed by a teacher in schools for 10 years. And the question had arisen for me around, am I being called to prison ministry? And that was very much a left field question. And the fact that the Grail was holding me as I was discerning that. It was a place where I could come and reflect and also be challenged and questions asked, and so there was a great freedom in being able to continue that discernment process with the women from the Grail. In 2015 I travelled to the States for a spiritual direction conference, and my husband and I made it into a holiday, and I contacted the Grail both in I think it was Cincinnati and New York, and in both places offered enormous generous hospitality by people I had never previously met, and that was a delight, and it was this sense of being connected throughout the world. Back in 2012, 2011, 2012, the Catholic bishops issued a statement on prisons, and a social justice statement on prisons. And the Grail held a seminar focusing on this social justice statement, and I was a significant contributor to that seminar, speaking of my experience as chaplain in the jails. Towards the end of the seminar, one of the Grail women, Anne-Marie, asked the question, how can we support you in the work that you are doing in the jails? And my mind immediately went to a journal that I had seen that Sister Joan Chichester had produced in America. It's a beautiful A4 type journal which has photos and blank pages and inspiring quotes. And I said I'd love to be able to have one of those journals that I can give to the inmates in the jail. And so Anne-Marie and others then worked on producing our own journal to sell among the general public, which created interest in prison ministry, an awareness of some of the issues associated with being incarcerated, and also by people buying one of those journals, it enabled another journal to be given free of charge inside the correctional centres. Those journals have been very valued by both people inside and outside. Would often use them with the men who I was supporting, who would come into jail and were not able to have contact with their children. And one of the things I would suggest to them is that they could write what they would like to be saying to their children at that particular point of time. So it might be on the child's first day of school, they would write what they wanted to be saying, their birthday, or maybe just a memory they're recalling, knowing that when they had an opportunity in the future to restore their relationship with their child, that it wasn't just a case of Dad coming back into their life, but Dad being able to say, on your first day of school, this is how I was thinking of you. As you sat the HSC, you were very much in my mind. So I saw it as a way of restoring relationships. And the Grail was very much part of enabling that to happen. We have a gathering each second Saturday of the month, a regional meeting, and a lot of that is discussing various business and programs and what's happening. But what that also does is allows for that regular contact with one another. One of the things that has evolved over more recent times is actually house church. A number of us had been struggling with the institutional church, and others were very immersed in the institutional church and regular worship in parishes. And what we came up with the idea was that while the early Christian community gathered at synagogue on Saturday, they would then gather in house church on Sunday. So what we chose to do was gather as house church on Saturday, once a month or however often we wanted, and would then allow people to still remain connected with church on Sunday if that's what they wanted. And I suppose it was a case of us being church in the way that we wanted to be church, as opposed to the way that we were being told through the institution of being church. And we would take different themes, usually make our own bread, gather in a spirit of companionship, friendship, and celebrate or grieve, rejoice or lament at whatever was going on in our lives and the world at that time. That's an interesting one, because initially I think I was fairly much in awe of the women who were part of the Grail, that they were immersed within the Grail story and who they were in the world. But what I've come to realise is that I have brought to the Grail who I am in the world and in myself, and I've found that I've sort of almost grown into the Grail, that I've become what I offer, yes, is who I am, but that's been valued and therefore affirmed and therefore flourished. I would never have seen myself as a facilitator, but over the last 12 months or so, that's very much a role I've played in the Grail. I have offered retreats for the Grail. I have offered numerous opportunities for spiritual reflection. The Grail has worked with the gifts that I have to enrich the Grail. Future plans, probably not. Hopes, many. I could see that there's a lot of possibility as to what we as Grail could be doing. Whether that be from living in intentional community, whether it be in offering spaces of hospitality, whether it be in formation of other women, or formation, radical formation of people in general. For me, it's around cultivating spirituality, which is for me the fullness of life, the joys and delights, the accompanying one another in moments of trial, suffering, despair, and I suppose, Grailness will continue in whatever way the Grail evolves into the future. I think that the Grail at the moment, which consists largely of older women, is both a gift and a challenge. It's a gift because of the lived experience and the wisdom of those women and the capacity to reflect and to imagine and to live from a place of depth and maturity. It's a challenge because we miss out on the vitality and energy of younger people. And there's also, I suppose, a concern of, does it mean that the Grail will diminish in years to come? But I think that if we were to just focus on in recruiting younger women, then we'd be doing ourselves a disservice of not valuing the gift that comes with the from those older women. Historically, the Grail was very much about the spiritual formation of young women. But we live in different times now, and maybe part of the invitation at this time is actually the spiritual formation of older and ageing women, that in itself is a gift to the women and to the world.